Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a good day to all. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala rasulihi al-Mustafa wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka anta alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Thank you all for watching. My name is Nasiruddin, and I would like to share with you some of my experiences previously as a senior banker. I'm talking to you from this impressive MBSB new building in PJ Central, and I'm delighted to tell you how fortunate I am to be part of this organization, which has persistently and have worked very hard to transform itself from being a riba institution in the past to be a full-fledged Islamic bank. The topic of my short talk today is the history of riba and its prohibition. I will cover three areas, namely riba and its prohibition, the establishment of the secular worldview and its position on riba, and issues related to modern banking and capitalist economy. We will start with riba and its prohibition. Why is it important for today's Islamic banker to understand riba and its prohibition? First, our customers and fellow bankers may not understand why riba is prohibited, and as you may be aware, in some institutions, the riba and the Islamic banking businesses run side by side. Second, today's political, economic, and social systems recognize riba. For example, riba is part of our legal system. If a plaintiff claims for damages and is being awarded by the court award is always given plus additional interest, meaning there is the award which the defendant has to pay the plaintiff, and there is the riba, which is an additional amount which he needs to pay for every additional day that he took to make the payment after the date of the award. If you are a businessman and you take a loan from the bank, the riba that you pay the bank is tax deductible. However, the dividend that you pay your shareholders doesn't get this preferential treatment. Coming from this background where riba already has a place in society, it is difficult for the general public to understand why riba is prohibited. But the fact is, the acceptance to riba only came about less than 200 years ago, and the prohibition and condemnation on riba has dated back to the time when riba was first introduced to society. All religions prohibit riba. Other than Islam, the Jews equate riba with idolatry, considered one of their biggest sins. In Christianity, there are more than 30 verses in the Bible which condemns riba, more than there is in the Quran. The charging of interest on loan is prohibited in Hinduism, but this ruling is not general for all, but rather it is only for the top two castes, the Brahmin, which are the priests, and the Kshatriya, the warriors. The Buddhist book of Jatakas equally condemns riba. All governments up to the 18th century either outlawed or imposed a limit on riba. Until the 18th century, all thinkers, philosophers, writers condemned riba. The earlier thinkers and philosophers like Aristotle, Socrates, and Plato detested riba with their arguments that coins cannot breed more coins, unlike cattle which can breed calves. The later writers like William Shakespeare, in his theatrical play The Merchant of Venice, took a swipe at the Jewish community who do their money lending business in the port cities of Europe. So when did this establishment of the secular worldview and its position on riba started? It seems to have started with the American Revolution, which gave birth to the United States of America in 1776, and the French Revolution, which created the first republic in 1792. Both events, which were supported by the Declaration of Independence in America and the Declaration of Human Rights in France, have led to the establishment of the secular worldview. In America, the Revolution defeated the British rule and set the pace for the establishment of a new country, the United States of America, which is new with its new constitution, which was based on the Declaration of Independence. In France, the revolution overthrew the last of the French monarchy. The revolutionaries sent their king, Louis XVI, and his wife, Queen Marie Antoinette, to the guillotine. The new French Republic was established and was heavily influenced by the Declaration of Human Rights. The two events became the model of the newly established republics and created the secular worldview, which essentially removed God from the government. The Human Rights Accord essentially placed individual rights above that of society. While in some areas the secular government is in agreement with God's law and recognizes crimes such as robbery, kidnapping, and murder, it does not agree, nor does it recognize crimes such as riba, adultery, and prostitution. And how do they explain these differences? While the secular government recognizes injury to another human being as a crime, it views acts which are prohibited by God but which resulted out of mutual consent by individual as a non-crime. Therefore, while the secular government punishes crimes like robbery, bribery, murder, rape, and sodomy, riba, prostitution, and adultery are not considered crime based on the secular worldview because in all, the concerned parties agreed and consented to the terms of the transactions. With the secular worldview which separates the government from religion, we have before us laws and regulations which are in conflict with religion. Finally, a little bit on the issues related to modern banking and capitalist economy which resulted from abandoning of God's law on riba. Today, we are faced with the many ills of riba. As explained in the Quran, riba destroys society and created injustice. In Malaysia, as in the rest of the world, we are faced with the crisis where the increase in wages in the last few decades does not correspond to the drastic increase in property prices. Property prices have gone beyond the reach of those who have just started their family and becoming a problem to our society. If you are a millennial who have just started work and you are one of the lucky few who have qualified to buy a house and obtain a bank loan, then most probably you will be paying for your housing loan way beyond your retirement years. Now let me take you through a very quick snapshot on what it was like 50 to 60 years ago. When my grandfather retired in the 1960s, he used his life savings to buy a single-story semi-detached house in Section 3 PJ for 9,000 ringgit. Another grandfather did the same in 1970 and bought a terrace house in SS3 for 11,000 ringgit. My father bought a house in 1978 for 39,000 ringgit midway through his working career using partially a government loan as well as his savings. However, in the 1990s, when banks started introducing their consumer or retail banking divisions, my contemporaries and I were able to get a car loan, a housing loan, and a few credit cards, all within less than 3 years of starting our careers. Midway through our careers, all of us have gotten bigger cars and have either accumulated 2 or 3 properties or have moved into bigger houses after selling the earlier ones. All these are accomplished by getting additional or more loans. With the few new data that is now available, researchers, myself included, have now understood how riba can potentially cause cross-generational injustice by allowing one generation to consume the resources which rightly belongs to the next generation, and thus explains the misery falling upon our millennial generation. It is perhaps for this reason that Bank Negara Malaysia, in its 2019 annual report, has outlined the following fundamental principles to further strengthen Islamic finance by emphasizing: first, profit to come from bearing and sharing of risk. Second, money is only a store of value and a medium of exchange. 3. Wealth creation must be balanced with wealth transfer and circulation. And lastly, assurance of transparency and traceability. It is hoped that with Islamic finance leading the way, the future of our younger generation will improve than what it is today. With that, inshallah, I will end my talk. Until we meet again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.